I recently received a question on Instagram regarding whether or not it's advisable to use a HotTop roaster as a quality control roaster at a wet mill. And the quick answer is yes, I would definitely recommend it. But the longer answer is kind of the whys and the wherefores. But the HotTop is a good lab roaster. It's a good sample roaster for the price that you pay for it. So they're around $1,000, and at that price, it's affordable. As an electric roaster, it has some challenges. So with electric roasting, there's an electrical element, heating element inside the roaster, and that's how heat is applied for the roasting process. Whereas with a gas roaster, you have more efficient, more powerful gas heat delivery. So that's something you have to take into account when you're roasting, because you have to anticipate changes, because it takes upwards of 30 seconds from when you apply the heat change at the control panel or at your laptop and to when the heating element is completely at temperature. So as an electric roaster, there are some challenges there. It's more like driving a boat rather than driving a sports car. And the little gas-powered 2-barrel, 4-barrel sample roasters you see at the bigger cafes and the bigger roasteries, those are more like driving a sports car. They're very responsive. You apply heat and it's immediately available, whereas with the electric roaster here, you apply heat and it's available gradually. With this roaster, it's about a 300 gram maximum rated capacity. However, I have found that I get the best performance that I want at about 130 gram charge. I use 130 grams for a number of reasons, primarily again because of the performance, but also because 130 grams of coffee, roasted coffee at the end of the day, is a decent amount for me to brew with and experiment with, and then go back and roast again, because this is primarily my home roaster. And that means that I don't have 6 kilos of coffee sitting in the corner to experiment with. So for that reason, my batches need to be smaller so that I can conserve the small amount of greens that I currently have. And then the rest of the peeves and the complaints I have about the roaster are pretty much minute. They're, one of the peeves is the alarms. So because it's designed to be a home roaster, it beeps incessantly at a couple of different points in the roast just to get your attention back to the roaster. Now, the first beep, when it reaches a specific temperature, the first alarm lasts for I think 30 seconds, and you can't disable it. So you have to sit there and listen to the thing beeping at you for 30 seconds, even though you may be right there on top of the roaster. So that's pretty annoying. The second time it beeps is around 400 degrees Fahrenheit at the internal sensor. And when it reaches that point and that alarm triggers, you're able to actually go in and disable that alarm. Not disable, but silence that alarm. So in that regard, that's just something that gets in the way. Another downside of this roaster is the lack of trier. So if we look at the front of this roaster, typically right in here you have a trier where you can pull out and look at and smell the beans from the roaster. With the HotTop you don't have that. You just have this very large sight glass where you can peek in and you can see effectively the color of the coffee and what's happening to the coffee in regards to size, the surface, so on and so forth. But you can't pull out a sample of coffee and check it out. You can also smell the coffee at the exhaust back here. If we turn this around, well, you're not going to be able to see that. We can also smell the coffee, the fumes at the exhaust, but it's not as effective as pulling the beans out and smelling them right from the trier. So in that regards, the HotTop is a little bit more of a data-driven roaster, which is okay if you have it connected to your laptop and you're running something like Artisan software or Typica, or if you can afford it, Cropster. I personally use Artisan. It's free. I've used it since maybe version 0.5. We're up to version 1.2 now, maybe 1.3. I'm not sure. I haven't checked the latest. But the HotTop plus Artisan or plus any roasting software becomes a very useful tool because you can see the roast as it's progressing right now, and you can make adjustments as needed. If you just use the HotTop out of the box with just the control panel, your roasts probably won't be as good because you don't get rich information. So that leads me to the next thing about the HotTop that I actually like. It's very easily hackable and upgradable. I have installed inside this roaster 4 additional temperature probes, thermocouples. I have one inside the drum that sits right above the heating element, so I know pretty closely what the heating element looks like. I also have 2 environment probes stuck into the back of the roaster, which stick into the actual roasting drum, and then I have a bean temperature probe that also comes into the back of the roasting drum and actually mingles in with the bean mass, so that I can see what the temperature is of the bean mass, the surface of all the beans, kind of the average surface temperature. So going back to the original question, is the HotTop suitable for quality control at a wet mill? Absolutely. It's inexpensive, it's upgradable, and because it's an electric roaster, it's close to plug and play. You can take it out to your wet mill, you can set it up on a countertop, plug it in, and you're ready to roast. If you have a laptop, you connect it to your laptop and you rock and roll. The latest HotTop, the K plus N or KN plus, it's already laptop controllable ready, if that makes sense. You can take that model and you can plug it into your laptop, and roasting software such as Artisan can control your HotTop. If you're about to go out and buy a HotTop, I would strongly recommend you look into the KN plus or the K plus, the K model, the latest that will connect to your laptop. That will allow you to control the roaster from your laptop, and it just makes things a lot easier. The HotTop is also a great home roaster. So if you have a wet mill and you get the HotTop, you can use it for quality control at the mill, and you can also use it at home to roast your coffee for everyday use. You can use it at home. Maybe you're bringing home experimental lots and you want to roast them in different ways because you want to be able to communicate with your roasters effectively and tell them how your coffee performs when you roast it in various ways. This is also a great roaster for that. And that reminds me of another point. Because this is a drum roaster, you can develop a roasting profile in this roaster and transfer that to the larger roaster, with one caveat. Being an electrical roaster, the controls are going to be different if you take that profile and reproduce it on a gas roaster. If, for example, at a certain point you cut the heat back in order to stretch out a specific phase, on a gas roaster you can cut that heat off later in the roast to have the same effect. In fact, you have to, because again, with the electric roaster, when you want to apply heat, it's slow. You tell the electric heating element to heat up, and it takes 30 seconds to reach maximum temperature. And the reverse, when you need to drop the temperature down, it takes some time for that heating element to cool down. It may even take longer than the 30 seconds that I mentioned. So for that reason, you just need to be aware of the differences between your gas roaster and your electric roaster. So I hope that answers your question, and as always, please send me more questions. You can comment in videos, you can send me questions on Instagram, you can send me messages on Twitter or email, however you want. All those links will be down in the description. If you like this video, let me know. Drop a comment in the comments section. I always love to hear from people, and subscribe to the channel to find out when I have new videos released. Thank you.